right, let's talk about something that's absolutely vital for turning any idea into a real thing: project management. But we're not going to try and cover everything. Nope. We're zeroing in on those crucial first steps, the groundwork that honestly often decides if a project is going to fly or if it's doomed from the very start. So let's get into it.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into why this foundation is so incredibly important. Then, we'll walk through the 3 key phases: kicking things off with initiation, getting into the details with definition, and then building the roadmap with planning. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at the toolkit you'll need to make it all happen.
Okay, so why all the focus on the beginning? Why does it matter so much? Well, here's the thing. Most projects don't actually fail when they're halfway done. They're usually set up to fail right from the get-go because they're built on a shaky foundation. And we're not talking about bad ideas here. We're talking about bad preparation. And look, the data really backs this up. A huge 32%, that's nearly a third of all project failures, can be traced back to just one thing: bad estimates during the planning stage. Just let that sink in. Almost 1 in 3 projects are failing simply because the initial map was wrong from day one. So that brings us to the real question of the day, right? If that foundation is everything, how in the world do you build one that's strong enough to hold up? Well, the great news is there's a clear, proven process you can follow to do exactly that. That leads us right into phase 1, project initiation. Think of this as the initial spark, the big idea. We're not getting bogged down in details yet. This is all about the high-level stuff. What's the point of this project? Who needs to be on board? And most importantly, do we have the official green light to even start exploring it? And this quote, ma'am, it really gets to the absolute core of the very first step. Before you write anything down, you have to sit down and talk with your project sponsor. And your goal is really simple. You have to agree on what success actually means for this project. That conversation is the real bedrock of your entire project brief. Now, projects don't just appear out of thin air. They usually start in one of 2 ways. In a top-down situation, a project gets handed to you from above. Your number one job is to make sure that brief is crystal clear and that you've got real support. But in a bottom-up world, you're the one with the idea. In that case, your mission is to find a sponsor who's just as excited about it as you are. So once you get that green light, you move into phase 2, defining the details. If the initiation was the spark, this is where you create the actual architectural blueprint. You're going from this vague, high-level idea to a really precise, written-down plan of what you're actually going to deliver. And a super simple but incredibly powerful way to do this is to just ask the classic 5 Ws. You need to systematically ask your client, your end users, everyone involved, these basic questions. It forces you to really understand the problem you're trying to solve before you ever start thinking about the solution. If you want to dig even deeper, you can use the 5 whys technique. You just ask your client why they want the project and make them answer with the phrase "in order to." Then you ask why that's important, and you keep going. Now, here's the kicker. If you can't link your project back to a core business goal within 5 whys, that's a massive red flag. It might mean the project isn't worth doing at all. All of this defining work gets wrapped up into one key document, the PID, or Project Information Document. This is your official blueprint. It's got everything you've learned from all those conversations. And once it's signed off, it's a formal agreement. This is the moment your project is cleared to start spending serious time and money. Okay, so you've got your blueprint. That takes us to our final prep stage, the project plan. If the PID was the what, the project plan is the how. This is the detailed, step-by-step roadmap that your team is actually going to follow to get the job done. A fantastic way to do this is with the team planning technique. You start with one clear objective. Then you brainstorm all the products, the things you need to build, and the tasks needed to build them. But listen, this is the most critical part. You bring your team in to help refine everything. They're the ones who really know the work. Getting them involved makes your plan way more accurate and gets their full buy-in. And speaking of risks, you're not helpless, you know? You don't just have to cross your fingers and hope for the best. The Prince2 standard gives us 5 solid strategies. You can try to prevent a risk from happening, reduce its chances or its impact, transfer it to someone else, like an insurance company, or you can just accept it. And finally, you can plan a contingency, which is really just your plan B. Now, let's circle back to that scary 32% failure rate from earlier. A brilliant tool to fight back against bad estimates is the PERT method. It's kind of like a psychological trick. Instead of asking for just one number, It forces people to think more carefully by asking for three estimates: optimistic or best case, most likely, the realistic one, and pessimistic, the absolute worst case. You then plug those three numbers into this formula. Now, don't get scared by the math here. The genius isn't how it's weighted. See how the most likely time, TM, is multiplied by 4? That gives it the most influence, pulling your final estimate towards what's actually realistic. It's a simple way to create a schedule you can actually trust. Okay, you've done the hard work. You've initiated, you've defined, and you've planned your project. Now you actually have to manage it all. In this last section, we'll quickly run through the tools you can use to put your plan into action and keep everything on track. You've basically got three kinds of options. Specialist software is a powerhouse, but it can be really complex and expensive. Then you have online collaboration tools, which are awesome for communication and super easy to use, but might not handle really complex projects. And of course, there's your good old office software. Everyone has it, but it just wasn't built for serious project management. The key thing is to pick the tool that actually fits your project's needs. And that pretty much wraps it up. What we've seen is that project success isn't some kind of magic. It's the result of building a strong, solid foundation, plain and simple. You initiate, you define, and you plan. So the only question left is for you. Your next great idea is out there, waiting. Are you ready to build it a foundation that lasts? Thanks for watching.